Welcome to part 2 of the Clone Z-95 Hunter expansion pack review. In this part of the review, we're going to be looking at all the upgrade cards in this expansion pack. If you're interested in all the pilots and what I thought about the ship model and its maneuver dial, as well as other stats and abilities and actions, you can watch the second part of the review, which is in the description of this video or at the very end of this video. Without further ado, let's get right into it. And now we're coming to the upgrade part of our expansion pack review. So some of these cards we've already seen before. I'm just going to kind of briefly cover them, so for the new players, they kind of get an idea of how they work. So the first one is Marge Sable Closure, an EPT talent upgrade. You get 2 copies in this expansion. This talent only works on small or medium ships, and it is, after you fully execute a maneuver, if you move through an obstacle, structure, or a huge ship, or if you deployed, you may choose one enemy ship and your firing arc at range 1 to 2. That ship gains 1 strain token. Obviously, in Epic, this card has a lot of uses. You can move through your capital ships or get deployed to use it. In casual play, you're only going to be able to move through obstacles to use it. Unless you have a ship that can deploy you, then you can use it, that deploy ability. And overall, it's actually a pretty good card. Being able to move through an obstacle and kind of surprise your opponent by doing that and give them a strain token on top of that's great. Especially now that most obstacles do not prohibit your action step. Only debris because you get a stress, and maybe gas clouds do that. I don't remember exactly. But I know moving through asteroids, you can still do your action. The only problem is obviously you can take a lot of damage moving through obstacles or just other effects you don't really normally want to take. The best combination with this card is Collision Detector, which is 9 points. That way you can ignore the effects of an obstacle. That can work really well with Killer and Warthog since they have 10-point loadout values. Using March Sable Closure since it's only a 1-point upgrade, using that with Collision Detector is 10 points. So Warthog and Killer can both do that. And since it's only 1 point, it's a pretty good upgrade. Not the best upgrade in the entire game, obviously, but definitely a really cool one. Glad to see it in more expansions. And yeah, it's an interesting upgrade. Our next EPT talent upgrade card is Squad Leader, which adds the red coordinate action to your action bar. This is the one I was talking about that could work well with NAC, just because you can coordinate now to friendly ships, which is really good. The only drawback is while you coordinate, the ship you choose can perform an action only if that action is also on your action bar. So if NAC's using it, obviously the only action that ship gets coordinated to can perform is focus or target lock, which is pretty minimal. Not bad though, or barrel obviously, but it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's nice to get an extra focus. It's a cool APT, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time we've ever seen this card in a non-conversion kit expansion pack. Pretty sure this card was only in the conversion kits until now. So that's really cool that we're seeing it in expansion for the first time. But if I'm wrong on this, please let me know in the comments, because I don't own every single expansion in X-Wing, so I don't know this for sure. But I think this is the first time we've ever seen it in a pack, and it's not a bad card. Not a terrific card if you already have other coordinators, but if you're limited in your Republic lists, you only have like Guardians of the Republic and the Z-95 Hunters, or only Z-95 Hunters, then this is a great card if you want to get extra actions to particular pilots to have them hit harder. Finally, we have a newer talent upgrade. This one's about 2 months old. It previously released with the Gauntlet Fighter and Razor Crest expansion, which came out about a month or 2 ago. Anyways, while you defend, if you are not in the attacker's bullseye arc, crit results are neutralized before hit results. After you suffer critical damage, you may perform a calculate or focus action on your action bar, even while stressed, treating that action as red. So to beginners, obviously, it seems like these abilities kind of counter each other. Like the point of the card on the first text is to not take crits, but the second part of the text is if you take crits, you get bonuses. The reason for this is that you don't want to take crits, period, but if you end up doing that, you still get a benefit. I think the second part of the text really doesn't matter. It usually never happens. Most ships that it's hard to kind of understand, it's hard to kind of anticipate when you're going to take crits in order to use the ability effectively, to get like a target lock and then take a focus, now to have a full modded shot. Usually this card's just to cancel crit results instead of hits. That way your big boy ships that have like 6 or more hull don't take crits, because crits really hurt ships with a lot of hull on them. Not so much for small hull ships. Kind of surprised to see this card in the Z-95 pack, but not surprised at the same time. They are after all trying to get this card into multiple like factions, so this is how they're doing it. This card only used to be 2 points, so it's pretty good to equip for any ship just because it's only 2 points, but now it's 5. So yeah, I would only equip it on a large base ship if you really have a large base ship you want to keep around longer. But on small bases like the Z-95 Hunter, it's kind of a meh card. It's 5 points. I think Crack Shot is better for Z-95 or Expert Handling, and both those cards are 3 or 2 points. And on some of these pilots, you can take both those cards for 5 points, and that's just way better than I think Enduring on a Z-95 Headhunter. Just because they only have 2 holes, so a crit's going to basically one-shot them. Or if it doesn't one-shot them, they're still at 1 hole, so it doesn't really matter to cancel the crit results. They're dead either way. So yeah, it's a cool card, though, for large base ships. You get 2 copies in this expansion, which is great. But yeah, it's not terrific for Z-95s, but it's great for other ships in the Republic faction that don't have shields or that have high hull values. And next up, we have a card that I constantly keep referring to. It's called Fire Control System. While you perform an attack, if you have a lock on the defender, you may roll 1 attack die. If you do, you cannot spend your lock during this attack. Obviously, I said the combination with this was Synchronized Console, which is in Republic Arc 170 packs, or Guardians of the Republic Squadron pack, which is where you spin your target lock to give it to another friendly ship with the Synchronized Console upgrade, or just a friendly ship at range 1. The idea with that card is if you don't spin your lock, you can give it to someone else. Fire Control System really pairs well with that because you're still getting a reroll, but you don't have to spin your target lock, which is really nice. Good to see this upgrades in this expansion pack because the Z-95s will use it a lot, I think. It's a really good system slot for them. They're really unique in this area, too, that they're the only ship that can use Synchronized Console and Fire Control System with a missile or torpedo, which is great. I definitely think we'll see a lot of Z-95s using that. You get 2 copies in this expansion as well, which is great. And this is a 2-point upgrade, so it's really cheap to use. Even if you're just using it on your Z-95 with no missiles, it's still a pretty okay upgrade to use, for sure. Better to use it with a missile, obviously, so you have more attack dice, but it can also work with 2 attack dice as well. And next up, we have the brand new card in this expansion, Homing Torpedoes. Attack, target lock, spin 1 charge. After you declare the defender may choose to suffer 1 critical damage. If it does, skip the attack defense dice step, and the attack is treated as hitting. This card has a 2 charge limit, so you can use it twice before having to reload or just not being able to use it anymore. And its attack range is range 1 to 2 with 4 attack dice. This is basically homing missiles, but torpedo form, and it's a closer range alternative. It is 1 critical damage, though, which is very interesting. This is definitely very situational, whether or not you want to have 4 dice rolled against you or 1 critical damage. I would say overall, most people just take the crit over the 4 attack dice. But it still is a critical damage, which means it's going to hurt more than just simply 1 damage, which is really nice to see. It really gets ships thinking. They're obviously going to take the crit, but they can get really hurt for that if they don't have shields. Obviously, if they have shields, no problem with that. If they have Enduring, no problem with that either, obviously. But if you don't have shields and you're like, say, a Vulture Droid, this can really hurt you, for sure. So yeah, it is right now in the game 5 points, which is really expensive, especially since Ion Torpedoes are only 4 right now. Ion Torpedoes are 4 attack dice, you take a damage if they hit, and then a bunch of Ion tokens are the rest of the hit results. And I believe Ion Torpedoes has like 2 charges on it as well, so you can use it twice at range 2 to 3, and it's just a really, like 1 damage with 4 attack dice is really good against a TIE Defender that has 3 defense dice with the Focus and Evade. And any hits after that ionize, which is great. The fact this is for 5 points, which is 1 point more than Ion Torpedoes, makes me not want to put it on the table just because this kind of seems, in terms of effectiveness, the same amount of effectiveness as an Ion Torpedo. So until this card goes down to 4 points, I'm not really interested in putting it on the table just because Ion Torps are better for their price. Once these are 4 points, though, definitely really good. Definitely be used. Definitely be playing them. If they ever go down to 3 points, these are going to be a really good bargain to use. And yeah, so they're interesting. You get 2 copies in the expansion, which is great. Not a terrific upgrade, but a nice one. It's a new upgrade, which is great. Speaking of Ion Torpedoes, you actually get 1 copy of the card in this expansion pack. So attack, target lock, spin 1 charge. If this attack hits, spin 1 hit or crit result to cause the defender to suffer 1 damage. All remaining hit and crit results inflict Ion tokens instead of damage. Like I said, this is a 4 dice weapon, range 2 to 3, with 2 charge tokens. It's better just because it's only 4 points. You have better range. It's 4 attack dice, that means it damage no matter what. And any more hits do Ion tokens, which is great. It's a really cheap weapon at 4 points, which makes it really good. Another old upgrade in this that we've already seen before is Advanced Proton Torpedoes. You get 2 copies of this card in this expansion pack. It's got 5 attack dice at a range 1 marker, with no range bonuses, just the 5 dice, obviously. All these torpedoes do not give you range bonuses. They only roll the dice because they have that red Ordnance Arc icon. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. This card can only be used once as well because it only has 1 charge token. And attack, it requires a target lock. You spend the 1 charge, and you actually get to change 1 hit result to a crit result. So it's 5 dice with an automatic crit, essentially, if you roll a hit. Target lock for the mods. This is a card I said that worked really well on boost, because boost can get to range 1 very easily. So yeah, it's not bad at all. And currently in the game it's 8 points, so it will take up a lot of your loadout value, but it can be worth it depending on the pilot you put it on. Finally, we got some missile upgrades, starting with the Mag Pulse Warheads, which we've already seen before. They've been out in the game for about almost a year now, actually. So it's attack, spend 1 charge, attack, target lock, spend 1 charge. If this attack hits, the defender suffers 1 critical damage and gains 1 deplete and 1 jam token. Then cancel all hit crit results. This attack has 3 attack dice, works at range 1 to 3, has the ordnance icon, so no range bonuses for defense or offense, and has 2 charges, so you can launch it twice. You also get 2 copies of this card in this expansion, so both your Z-95s can use it. It's not a bad missile at all. It technically works better with higher initiative pilots. For example, if you're using Hawk at 4 initiative and launching it against a 3 initiative pilot, you can essentially shut down their attack against you. Not only are you giving them a critical, which if they have no shields is a face-up damage card, which can really hurt, but that deplete token and that jam token essentially removes their mods and makes their attack weaker because that deplete token removes an attack die. So this is a very good a missile for higher initiative pilots because they can essentially shut down pilots coming at them with a lower initiative value. It's only 4 points right now. It's a pretty decent option. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's definitely very, very good. Our next missile is the XX-23S Thread Tracers, big title name. You can only have 2 of these in your list, hence the double unique double dots there. This attack requires a focus or a calculate or a target lock, so you can essentially launch it with any type of mod token. And you spend 1 charge. If this attack hits, each friendly ship at range 1 to 3 of the defender may acquire a lock on the defender. Then you cancel all dice results. It's got 3 attack dice, range 1 to 3, no range bonuses because of the ordnance icon, and you can launch it twice before running out of charges because it's got 2 charges on it. Not a bad one at all, and obviously it's used for just giving everyone target locks around you. It can be very useful on ships with low attack values such as Z-95 Headhunters or Vulture Droids. Since they only have 2 attacks, you can easily sacrifice their attack to give everyone else around you target locks to use torpedo volleys or missile volleys, or just giving them all a bunch of modifications so they get better shots on there. So it can be very strong. The more ships you have, the better it is. It's 4 points in the game currently, so it's kind of hefty on the price. It used to only be 2, but that was a little bit too cheap. Too many ships were using it. Too many swarms actually were using it to really good effect. So now it's 4 points to kind of mitigate that. Very good. It's an older upgrade, but it's still good. You get 2 copies of this card in this expansion, which is great, and it's a missile upgrade, obviously. Our final upgrade is the modification slot upgrade called Angled Deflectors. This only works on small or medium ships with a shield value of 1 or more, and the reason why is because equipping this upgrade makes you lose 1 shield, but you gain the Reinforce action as a white action to your action bar. This card has no other text on it. So what Reinforce does, for those of you that don't know, is your ship is divided into 2 halves, the front and rear halves, which are divided by those hash marks that you use for barrel rolling or side slipping. Taking a Reinforce action to the front or the rear, shown on the token here. The rear is this one right here, and the front is the one with the shield icon on its front. Reinforcing the front, what that'll do is all ships in your front half of your arc, or at least having, which count as ships that are all the way in that arc, or that have the majority of their base in that arc. When you reinforce the front, when those ships shoot at you, you apply 1 minus hit to their attacks on your defense to a minimum of 1 hit left, basically. So in practical terms, this means if I reinforce the front, these 2 X-Wings, because this X-Wing has the majority of its base in my full arc, and this X-Wing, because it's all the way in my full arc, are going to be affected by this. The X-Wing that's behind me obviously won't be because I'm only reinforcing the front. But the 2 X-Wings that are affected, when they shoot at me, I'm going to be applying 1 minus hit to their rolls every time they shoot at me, even if they shoot at me like twice per X-Wing, which is very powerful. The only problem is this can only be done to a minimum of 1 hit. So if one of them rolls 3 hits against me, I roll 1 evade, 2 hits left, Reinforce takes it down to just 1 hit, which is great. However, say the other X-Wing only gets 2 hits, I roll 1 evade again, there's 1 hit remaining, the Reinforce will not take that away. Reinforce only takes the hits down to a minimum of 1. So it's kind of situational. During equipment upgrade phase, usually not a whole lot of people use it on ships, unless they're large base ships like TIE Reapers or Millennium Falcons, ships that have very little defense dice, but a lot of hull. So like the reinforced really works because you're getting shot by 5 X-Wings. That's like 5 minus hits. So like that improves your survivability by a lot. For ships like TIE fighters and stuff with 3 defense dice, didn't really want to equip that because their defense dice in general, they'd be able to probably just not even take any damage from the shot if they get enough evades. But for ships like Z-95 Headhunters and even X-Wings, they could use it because they only have 2 defense dice, meaning that they can now cancel more hits. But it's situational still because, you know, they still have more defense dice in those bigger ships, so it's still kind of a card that's just very situational. Yeah, it's not a great upgrade in general. It's definitely usable though. The lower your agility ship and the higher hull value, or the higher total health anyways, because you still need shields to use it, the better it is. But the higher your agility and the lower your health, the worse it is, basically. And that'll be the end of our review of the Z-95 Hunter expansion pack. Just so you guys know, you do get 2 Z-95 Hunters when you buy this pack. That's why I'm showing 2. It is $45, which is a bit hefty on the price. I remember when the Y-Wings came out in their dual pack, you could get that pack for $40, which is great because it's 2 ships that are $20 each in a pack that's $40, which is great. But now they're selling it for $45, which I think is a little bit of a ripoff because it's $5 more. And they're not really putting that many more upgrades in this pack either. There is a lot of upgrades, but a lot of these upgrades aren't new, or they're just not that great in general. If they added like synchronized consoles, dedicated upgrades, more missiles and torpedoes like plasma torpedoes, concussion missiles, which there's already plenty of in the game, but you know it could always be useful. I guess they could always add more of that, as well as just other cards as well. I think it would have really made the expansion worth $45, but at the moment I'm not exactly quite sure if it's worth that much. These are cool ships though. They are good ships, so it's kind of worth your money to buy them. It's just I'm not sure if I'm going to buy any more ships anymore just because they're kind of expensive. But that's just me. I'll probably end up you know, who knows. But the pilots themselves in the Z-95 Hunter are really good. I definitely think this is going to be a great ship for Republic, seeing as how all the ace pilots are only 3 points. Something the Republic really needs right now is 3-point pilots, because a lot of their ships at the current moment cost either 4 or 5. Their only 3-point options are some of the Naboo fighter pilots, some of the V-Wings, and a couple of the V-19 Tor pilots. But now they have the Z-95 Hunter, which, compared to the rest of those ships, can take torpedoes or missiles, use fire control system with synchronized console to use that whole target lock strategy, which can be very, very powerful. Really looking forward to putting these ships on the table. They look magnificent as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Sorry if I stumbled over a lot of my words. I was really excited making this, so I might have been like, stumbling all over the place. Also because, you know, whenever I start talking about reviews or start talking really excited and just, you know, trying to make the video interesting, I always get my mouth always fills up with a lot of spit. So I'm always constantly swallowing or trying to talk over that. So I apologize for that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. And yeah, we'll see you next time. And the first be with you. Good luck and get rock and rolling.